What is up, Broncos country? How is everybody doing tonight? So this is me and Mohammed's video. We want to go over some things tonight. All the head coaches that have been hired so far this offseason. Going over trade rumors that, have been coming out. A lot of stuff I've been seeing on, podcasts and on YouTube and stuff. And just go over our expectations for free agency and the draft. And if we got time at the end, we might go over the games tomorrow, the AFC Championship game and the NFC Championship game. So, but let's get into it. So, Mohammed, out of all the head coaching hires that's happened so far, I think there was like 6 or 7 head coaches that had to be hired, teams that needed head coaches. There's only one team left that hasn't hired a head coach yet, and that is the New Orleans Saints, I believe.
Yeah.
But out of all the head coaching hires, what was the biggest shock to you? We'll go through all of them, but what was the biggest shock to you from the head coaching hiring so far?
Honestly, the Raiders, Eddie. I didn't see that happening. I mean, Pete Carroll, really? I mean, I understand. I mean, it's gonna probably help them with the culture and all that, but I honestly did not see that coming. I think they were after Ben Johnson, but he was smart enough not to, you know, go over there. I'm glad, honestly. But yeah, Pete Carroll, I was really shocked. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. Honestly, like I mean, you had the Bears, you had the Jets, the Jags. Um, forgot who was the other ones, man. I
Cowboys,
haven't. I'm sorry.
Cowboys.
Oh, Cowboys. That one didn't even really shock me. I would have to agree with you on the fact that Pete Carroll going to the Raiders. Honestly, whenever I first saw it, I laughed. I completely laughed my butt off. Like this to me, them hiring Pete Carroll, like yes, he'll probably come in, he'll change the culture. That's cool,
Yeah.
whatever. But Pete Carroll is 74 years old. He is not. There's no way. They're not doing a rebuild.
Nope.
They're gonna, band-aid and stick stuff together and maybe just rebuild the culture. That's it. But then once Pete Carroll retires or leaves, then the next guy comes in, he's gonna change the culture again.
Yeah.
This hire to me made absolutely no sense. And honestly, it was funny because it just means to me that the Raiders are gonna be bad the next 3 years, because that's how long the deal was a 3-year deal. It's like Pete Carroll is 74. You know he's not gonna do a rebuild. They like unless they trade up into the draft, which that's not going to happen. Like the three first picks in the draft are the Titans who need a quarterback, the Browns who need a quarterback, and the Giants who need a quarterback. And there's only 2 quarterbacks that are first round picks this year. No of those teams, unless you give up a haul,
Sell the farm, yeah.
sell the farm, you're not getting up to one of those spots. And Raiders are at 6. And if they do that, I mean, I guess they could. And then Pete Carroll could develop the young guy for the next couple of years. So whenever the new coach comes in, at least they got their quarterback. But I doubt any of those teams are going to move out of that spot. So the next thing, this is where it got me. Like we kind of talked about it a little bit before we went live, but Sam Darnold's been mentioned about going to the Raiders. With Pete Carroll. I've heard rumors about Aaron Rodgers possibly going to the Raiders. But the funniest one, well, actually, and Justin Fields, actually. Justin Fields was another one I heard about going to the Raiders, with Pete Carroll. But the funniest one was, people were saying, maybe he'll match back up with Russell Wilson. I was like, oh my God.
I was laughing
Full
too.
circle. Full freaking circle. He leaves Seattle because Pete Carroll wouldn't let him cook. Comes to Denver. He tries to cook. He burns the kitchen down and the whole house. And then, he has a solid second year in Denver because of Sean Payton. Then he goes to Pittsburgh, starts halfway through the season, has a solid couple of first games. And then towards, like, if you go on Steelers podcast, they're done with him. They're like, no, get rid of Russ. We don't want him here. He's not good. So, but yeah, I have to say the Raiders one was funny to me. Like, to me, that means they're going to be bad for the next 3 years. Like, there's no way. Like, yeah, they got the draft capital, but Pete Carroll's not going to rebuild. He's not. He's going to try to bubble gum and stick stuff together to hope it works.
But Eddie, I mean, I honestly think they thought they were going to get Ben Johnson. Once he went to the Bears, they looked around like, who are they going to hire? Everybody was gone. Like, Vance Joseph. I honestly thought they might go ahead and just, get Vance Joseph. But I
Yeah, but
mean,
at the same time, okay. We knew Mike Vrabel. He was the first head coach hire to the Patriots, and there was only 3 teams in this coaching cycle that had either just had the quarterback. None of the teams that have the high draft picks, like the first 3 draft picks, fired their coaches. The Giants kept Dayball. The Browns kept Stefanski, and then the Titans, they still got not Bryce Callahan. I forgot his name, but Callahan. They still got that coach out there. But it's like the 3 teams that had quarterbacks, young, promising quarterbacks. 3 of them were available. The Bears with Caleb Williams, of course. The Jags with Trevor Lawrence, and then the Patriots with Matt. Or I almost said Mac Jones, Drake May. And we knew Vrabel was going to, New
Patriots,
England.
yeah.
So to me, Ben Johnson was like the only 2 jobs he was going to take was either the Chicago Bears or he was going to take the Jags job. Because at least you got young, like star or superstar quarterbacks on those teams. The Raiders, they don't have anything. They got Max Crosby and Brock Bowers, which is a good tight end, but you're not in a position. I mean, they got $100 million in cap space. They're going to probably go out and get like a Sam Darnold or a Justin Fields or Aaron Rodgers. But Aaron Rodgers, I think, would be bad too because he's just a drama queen at this point. But to go on to our first, well, we kind of talked about Pete Carroll. That was pretty much the first one. What would you give that as a grade, Mohammed? Pete Carroll to the Raiders.
C plus maybe.
Yeah, you're more optimistic than I am. I gave it a D because I'm like, I don't like defensive minded head coaches, especially whenever you're a team that doesn't have a quarterback and you have to find one.
Yeah.
But it's like Pete Carroll is 74. The Raiders need to rebuild. They're reminding me of the Broncos from the past 10 years, refusing to rebuild. Trade off Max Crosby. Keep Brock Bowers. That's the only piece I would keep. Max Crosby is going to be 30, I think, next year. Trade him and get draft picks and just do the damn rebuild.
Yes, please trade him. It's just a nightmare.
But I give it a D. Honestly, I'm not going to give it an F because I do think Pete Carroll will come in and change the culture, but it's about who they hire after him. He's probably going to change the culture again, and we don't know what that next head coach is going to do.
I guess it's going to depend on whoever he hires as an OC, Eddie, too. That'll matter, right?
True.
I mean,
that is true, but still, like, unless, he hires a really good OC, and then whenever Pete Carroll finally steps down in 3 years after his contract, that OC takes over as head coach. That's the only thing I can think of. But the next one, Chicago Bears, Ben Johnson. This one, to me, it was like the Patriots. It was obvious. Everybody knew Ben Johnson was going to the Chicago Bears because of Caleb Williams. Like, a young, promising, upcoming, offensive-minded coach being a head coach. Now, it could falter. I mean, Ben Johnson might be a great OC, but he might be terrible as a head coach. I don't think that's the case, but there's a lot of people out there that think that. What say you, Mohammed?
I think Ben Johnson is okay, Eddie. My worry is, well, not worry, but Caleb Williams is the issue here. Honestly, like, I think he has a little drama to him, as far as like being mature and all that.
Yeah.
That's going to determine what happens. But like Ben Johnson, I think is decent.
Yeah, I like it. I give that an A. I give that hiring an A. Like I said, it could come back and falter, but I mean, think about the head coaching cycle back in 2022 when we hired Hackett. There was a bunch of teams that hired a bunch of young offensive-minded guys. I can't remember exactly all, but like Kevin O'Connell, he was a freaking stud as a head coach. Then Nathaniel Hackett, he was a bust. So, I mean, to me, we just got to wait and see how it works out. Like, I think Caleb will be fine. I just think there was so much, it was just such a hot mess over there. It was such a disaster in Chicago last year with Matt Eberflus that I wouldn't say stunted the growth of Caleb Williams, but it sure as hell didn't help him at all. And I think with Ben Johnson, that'll really help Caleb develop. And honestly, just like our division, we'll talk about that in a minute, but just like our division, it's going to be fun to watch. I think the NFC North is going to be fun to watch next year.
Yeah.
The Packers, the Vikings, the Lions, and now the Bears. This is going to be a fun division to watch.
Yeah.
But what grade do you give it, Mohammed Ben Johnson?
Same. A.
Same. A. So the next coach that comes up it was the first head coach or the first guy that got hired as a head coach, and that is Mike Vrabel to the New England Patriots. This one to me, this one was obvious. Like once Drake Mayo, got let go, that was instantly when the rumor started. Oh, Mike Vrabel to the it was like pretty much solidified in stone that Vrabel was going to the Patriots. And honestly, I don't hate the hire. It's a great Mike Vrabel. I'm pretty sure he's a defensive minded guy. He's a great head coach. He was doing great things. Like he had the Titans with Ryan Tannehill as the 1 seed in the playoffs for like 3 straight years.
Yeah.
Like he's a good head coach.
I was surprised
when they fired. Yeah, the Titans were stupid for that. But Mike Vrabel to the Patriots, I think this is a slam dunk hire. He's got a young quarterback that, as long as he can, we know, I'm sure you heard who he hired as OC is, right?
Yeah.
Josh McDaniels.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like him. He's a terrible head coach, Josh McDaniels, but I will say Josh McDaniels is a good OC. Like, he's great. If you just let him worry about the offense and don't have to worry about the entire team, he's fine. I think the Patriots are going to be really good again. I think maybe not next year, but I believe in 2026, they're going to be competing with the Bills for division titles again. What say you, Mohammed?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it was obvious that he was going to the Patriots, right? Very good coach, Eddie. And they got the quarterback figured out, and they got the OC. I was gonna give it an A. I'll give it a B because I don't like the Patriots.
I give it a B plus. Honestly, I mean, I don't like the Patriots either, but for that organization, like to me, it's fun. Like I like watching teams that are dysfunctional have to fire their coaches and have to search for a quarterback and a head coach, knowing that it's not us anymore. We're not on that carousel anymore.
Such a relief.
But I do hate the Patriots, but I mean, I don't hate them as much anymore. But I give it a B plus. Honestly, it's a good hire. Big E, we'll get to your comments here in a minute, man. We're just running through the head coaches, and then we'll get to your comments. If anybody's in here, want to get your comments in, please get them in. We'll, put them up on the screen, and we'll talk about them. And also, like, comment, subscribe on this video, and also hit the bell notification to know when we go live. The next big coaching sign or hiring was New York Jets, Aaron Glenn. This one, I don't hate the hiring in itself. It's just what Aaron Glenn said is what kind of, worries me. Whenever he got hired, he's like, yeah, Aaron Rodgers is going to be our quarterback, signifying that Rodgers will be back next year. Aaron Glenn, he did great things with that Detroit defense whenever they had all them injuries, this past year. But I don't know, like a lot of these guys, like I like the hiring. Like Mike Vrabel, we know is a good hire because he's been a head coach before. We know he can do it. Ben Johnson, like I said, I gave him an A, but he could still flop. We could be dead wrong on that. And the same can be said for Aaron Glenn. It's his first time as a head coach. Maybe he flops. Maybe he's good. I don't know. But to me, the hire wasn't shocking. I mean, it wasn't like the greatest hire. I wasn't like, oh, cool. They hired Aaron Glenn, but I wasn't sad about it either. I mean, whatever. I just don't like what he said about Aaron Rodgers. What say you, Mohammed?
I mean, same, Eddie. Like, I don't have a problem with the coach hiring itself, but he's gonna fail. I mean, you keeping Aaron Rodgers, it's just a dysfunction, Eddie. They need to rebuild. They need to let Aaron Rodgers go get a young quarterback and rebuild. I think that's what they need to do. So, he's not gonna be successful unless something crazy happens, Eddie. He's not. Aaron Rodgers is gonna have the say as far as what he needs to do and being like the king and all that stuff. I mean, come on, that's not going to go anywhere. So he's just set up for failure, I believe.
Yeah, and especially with Woody Johnson running things. He's an impulsive owner. Like he reminds me of Jerry Jones and David Tepper.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
the way he fired Salah last year, I lost all respect for Woody Johnson. Not saying I had much for him, but the little I did have is already out the window. He literally, like, I mean, I understand, your organization, your team is bad. They've been bad, for 20 years. And you went out and tried to get the big fish. You did what the Broncos did. You went out and got the big fish. The only difference was they didn't trade a massive haul for Aaron Rodgers. They didn't give him a buttload of money, like the Broncos gave the Russ. But it was like, now you got this diva type quarterback in your locker room, and he's literally destroying everything. And there's a big part of that we're going to talk about after we get done with the head coaching thing about players wanting out. We'll talk about that in a minute. But with that hire with Aaron Glenn, I give it probably like a C. Let's just see what happens. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I just don't like what he said about Aaron Rodgers. What grade do you give it, Mohammed?
I give it a D, Eddie, because Aaron Rodgers is still there. I honestly thought Aaron Rodgers is probably going to retire or decide he doesn't want to play for the Jets. Maybe he goes somewhere else. Maybe the Raiders would take him. But if he's staying, it's not going to be any better. So I'll give it a D.
All right, all right. And guys, let us know in the comments what grades do you guys give all these head coaches? Let us know in the comments. The next one is the Jacksonville Jaguars hired Leon Conan, the OC from Tampa Bay. He did great last year with Baker Mayfield. He made Baker Mayfield look really, really good. His offensive play calling was good. And honestly, I think this is a great hire for the Jags. And we heard about it a couple of weeks ago. They fired Doug Peterson. Like this just confused me. This tells me the Jags owner is kind of not really knowing what the hell he's doing, it seems like. He fires Doug Peterson after the season. And then I think they actually had Ben Johnson come in. Like, I think Ben Johnson would, he would have took the Jags job too because of Trevor Lawrence. But it was the fact that they kept, what's his name? The GM there at the time, Bulky, I think his name was, or something. I can't remember the GM's name there. But then they keep him, and then I guess Ben Johnson's like, well, I don't want to work with that guy. He's not a very good GM. He doesn't know what he's doing. And then 2 weeks later, you fire the GM. Like, I don't get it. Like, if you're going to fire a head coach, fire the GM too. Unless the GM's like really spectacular, like a George Payton at finding, guys in the draft. Like that's the reason why a lot of coaches didn't want to take the Jags job, because of him. But then it's like, the Jags owner was like, oh crap, no one wants this job because of the GM. I better get rid of him. I mean, the Raiders kind of did the same thing. They, fired their head coach, and like a week later they fired their GM. It's like, what are you doing? But overall, I give this hire probably an A, because an OC, like, I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is washed. Like, there was a lot of talk about that coming at the end of the season. When the Jags didn't play that well, you had Doug Peterson, a Super Bowl winning head coach. A lot of people placed the blame on Doug Peterson. I don't think that was the case. I think it was a mixture of both. I think it was Trevor Lawrence wasn't playing good. Then he gets hurt and he's out for the rest of the season after 5 games left. And then Doug Peterson, I just don't think he was taking good control of that team. I think this could be a good hire. I think I give it an A. What say you, Mohammed?
I honestly agree with you, Eddie. Like, I don't think Doug Peterson was doing a terrible job. I don't know why he got fired. I give it a B. I don't trust Trevor Lawrence. I think he has reached his ceiling. This is what we're gonna get. I don't think he's gonna get any better. That's what I believe. I don't think he's washed or anything, but I guess only time will tell, Eddie. I mean, maybe this new coach could get something out of him. We shall see.
Yeah.
But if they're having an issue with the GM, I don't know, Eddie. I'll probably give it like a B plus.
Yeah, like I said, I give it a A. But we already talked about Pete Carroll. That was the next one. We already gave our grades on that. But the last coach that got hired, and honestly, this was just a desperate move, in my opinion, by the Dallas Cowboys. Brian Schottenheimer. I really don't know much about him. I just, been watching podcasts, and a lot of people were just saying, a lot of podcasters and people talking on the internet were saying, Oh, this was a desperate hire by Jerry Jones because he screwed up with the whole Mike McCarthy thing. Like understandably, if you don't want to bring him back, that's fine. But you were dragging it out after the season ended. You wouldn't let him go interview with the Chicago Bears, and now it's like they didn't even hire this guy. They literally promoted him. He was already on the team. Like he was part of the coaching staff. They just promoted him, and honestly, I don't even know much to say about it. I just think the Cowboys are a disaster. Like they're going to be bad until Jerry Jones either hires the football people to make the football decisions, or I hate to say it, he passes away. The Cowboys are not going to be good. They're done. Like honestly, they would have been smart to keep Mike McCarthy, in my opinion. Jerry Jones is an idiot for paying Dak all that money. I understand, it's hard to find a franchise quarterback, but you literally paid Dak. You made Dak the highest paid quarterback, and he doesn't play like a top 5 quarterback. I mean, he's making more than Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, freaking I'm sure I'm forgetting Lamar Jackson. He's making more than those guys. He's making more than Trevor Lawrence. And he's not as good as those guys. So I don't know. I give this, head coaching hire a D. What say you, Mohammed?
I agree with you, Eddie. Jerry Jones, I don't understand it, Eddie. Like, just we get it. You got all this money and you have the team. Just hire the right people. Why are you? But it's not working. Whatever you're doing, it's not working. You need to hire a GM. Let the GM pick the coach. Stay out of it. That's what he needs to do. But he just can't help himself. He just needs someone that's gonna say yes, like a yes man. And I think this is what it is, Eddie. He couldn't get like a Sean Payton, a coach like that couldn't work for the Cowboys. Bill Belichick, no, because he wants someone to just say yes to whatever he decides to do. And he's not a football person. I'm sorry. So I agree with you, Eddie. I mean, just a D is actually a pretty high grade in my opinion. They're just gonna continue to suck. They're not gonna be winning. Like they're not going to the Super Bowl. It's just sad.
Yeah, it's whatever. I mean, I'm not like a lot of people hate the Cowboys. A lot of people like the Cowboys. I honestly don't care. Like I, I'm I'm like neither nor. I don't really care. Like it's the Cowboys. People call them the America's team. I'm like, yeah, they're not that anymore. But you know, it
The
is what it
Chiefs.
is. Like I don't watch them. I don't care if they win or lose. So it really makes no difference to me. But I want to get your take on this, Mohammed. Um, I think Mike McCarthy is going to be the next head coach of the New Orleans Saints. What do you think?
Very interesting, Eddie. I didn't think of it like that. Like I didn't think of that. Yeah, that'll
He,
actually make sense.
he was linked to him during this whole head coaching hire. Whenever Mike McCarthy was going to talk to the Bears, I seen a few people link him to the New Orleans Saints. They're the last team. And honestly, I don't know who else is out there. I mean, I'm sure there is people out there. I just don't know of any other big names out of this head coaching cycle that could go there. Like I'm thinking maybe Mike McCarthy because it seems like Mike McCarthy still wants to coach. But if he does go to New Orleans, he's going to have his hands full. They got to work. They got to get that. They're going to have to trade off all their pieces. They're going to have to get that cap under, and they're going to have to find a quarterback. I mean, they still got Derek Carr under contract, but I think Derek Carr he's done. Like they got to find a young guy. So, but I think that's who it's going to be. I think Mike McCarthy might go to the New Orleans Saints. We should know something within the next week or so, or hopefully the Saints hire their head coach within the next week or so. But moving on to the next topic, since we're at 25 minutes now, um, trade rumors. Now, there's been a lot of stuff going around. I mean, there's a lot of free agents, going to be coming up this year. We talked about last week, maybe T. Higgins coming to the Broncos as a free agent, maybe Chris Godwin coming to the Broncos as a free agent. But I know you think I was the first one to say this, Mohammed, a couple of weeks ago, but I've actually been seeing people talk about it a lot more over this last week. The Broncos trading for DK Metcalf from the Seattle Seahawks because they're talking about them guys having to rebuild. And that was the other thing. Geno Smith, they were talking about him, the Seahawks trading him to the Raiders to Pete Carroll so that way he can have his quarterback. Since he worked with him in Seattle, give Pete Carroll or give Geno Smith to Pete Carroll. That way he can maybe, like I said, bubble gum something together, maybe help that roster win a few games or something. But, at this point, they're talking about the Seahawks stripping it down and really rebuilding. DK Metcalf's the name that came up to be traded. And, people were talking about, the Broncos need a number one receiver, trade him to the Denver Broncos. What is your thoughts, and what would you do if the Broncos traded for DK Metcalf?
Oh, Eddie, I would love that. He's very physical, gifted. He's got heart. I would love it, Eddie. I would love it if we trade for DK. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'd be excited too. He's probably the biggest receiver. Him and AJ Brown are like the two biggest receivers in the NFL. And honestly, I think DK Metcalf's only like 27 or 28 years old. So he's still got a few years before he hits that 30 mark. So I'd be happy if they traded for him, but it would depend on what it is, like what the draft compensation is for him. Like if it's like, like a first, second, or 2 firsts, I'm like, no, I'll pass. I'm good. I'd rather just go sign Chris Godwin or, T. Higgins in free agency. But going back to what we were talking about earlier about Aaron Glenn with the New York Jets, and you kind of touched on it, Mohammed, they just need to strip it down. They need to strip that whole damn team down, get rid of Aaron Rodgers, and rebuild it. Another receiver that was linked to the Broncos in a trade was Garrett Wilson. Me, I'd be fine with it. I would love to have Garrett Wilson here. He's a great, young, athletic, superstar receiver. I just last year, halfway through the season, whenever the Jets traded for Devontae, Aaron Rodgers wasn't even looking his way anymore. Garrett Wilson, like he wasn't even looking for him anymore. He had his buddy Devontae there. He's like, nope, I'm going to Devontae almost every freaking play. So Garrett, he kind of wants out of New York, as it sounds, and the Jets just need to strip it down and rebuild it. I would love the Broncos trade for Garrett Wilson. Once again, depending on what the compensation would be. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, same, Eddie. I mean, my worry would be like, what are they going to be asking for? Because it's not only going to be that compensation, we're still going to have to pay him when he gets here, right? To keep him happy, give him a deal. So that's.
Go ahead.
Yeah, like I don't know how much they're gonna pay him. Like, I mean, they're gonna ask for at least a first round pick and some other stuff, I think. And when he gets here, he's probably gonna have to pay him. So that big investment worries me a little bit. I think there might be a cheaper option,
Well, that's the thing too. Like a lot of these people that have been talking about these trades, about these receivers going to Denver. Like DK Metcalf's going to want a contract. Garrett Wilson's going to want a contract, and they're probably going to be asking from anywhere from probably 25 to 33 million a year. Because Justin Jefferson, I believe, whenever he got paid last offseason, I think he's making 35 or 36 million a year. I mean, I hate to say it, Mom, but there is a time to do it. It would be now to pay a big name receiver. If they're young, like 26, 27, now's the time to pay him since Bo Nix is on his rookie contract.
Yeah.
Pay him, pay him the big contract, front load the contract. So by the time his contract comes to an end, you're not paying him that much. And then you can go over and be like, okay, here, Bo Nix, here's your money. That's the way teams do it. And like, if they're going to do that, I'd be fine with it, but front load the contract if you're going to do it that way. If like, he's like, I want 32 million a year, front load the contract. That way, whenever his contract's up, Bo Nix is ready for, his contract and be like, okay, hey, I want my money, so, and then you got a young stud to pair with, Bo Nix, and God knows what could happen in that aspect, oh God, I would love to see that so much. But moving on to our next topic, Mohammed, our expectations. We'll start with free agency, then we'll do the draft, and then we'll get through our comments here. But like I said, guys, if any of you guys have comments or anything, please drop them down below. Get your comments in. Please like the video, share, subscribe. Also, like I said earlier, hit the bell notification to know when we go live. But let's get to this, Mohammed. Free agency. What are you looking for the Broncos to do / your expectations for the Broncos in free agency?
So the big things here, as we were saying, Eddie, like wide receivers, tight ends. I think a tight end should be drafted. Like we should draft one of those tight ends. Running backs as well. Wide receivers. I mean, there's I'm really liking the idea of bringing in Chris Godwin. Like I've been watching his highlights and stuff, and I think he's gonna fit pretty well with Sean Payton's system. But as far as like running backs and the tight ends, they can go in the draft and take care of that.
Yeah, in free agency this year, my main goals, like I agree with you on the tight end running back. Those two things, 100% get in the draft. Your first picks, your first rounder and your second rounder, running back, tight end. That's where those two picks need to go. As far as free agency, we need a safety. They need to go see if they can find the safety. I haven't, like I said, we kind of went over it last week. I think Jesse Bates was one of them. There's a few good safeties out there that are going to be in the draft or in free agency this year. They need to go out and get one because PJ Locke is not the answer back there alongside Brandon Jones. He's just not. Inside linebacker. Now, both of our starting caliber inside linebackers this year they're both free agents this year. Stranad and Burton. And honestly, if I had to keep one, I would keep Burton because he played more solidly. I mean, he's 29, I think, and Stranad, I think, is like 28. So they're only a year difference. But I like Burton more. I'd say sign him to like a 2-year contract, cheap. Don't, have to overpay him. You got Alex Singleton coming back next year, but he's coming back from an ACL tear, so we don't know how well he's going to play. He's about 30, 31. So I think they should go into free agency and they should go try to find a young, and the one to me that sticks out is Nick Bolton, Kansas City Chiefs, inside linebacker. The guy is good. He's young. I think he's like 26. Like if the Broncos could go out and nab him in free agency, I would take him in a heartbeat. He's good in pass pro. He's good in the run game. He's young. He's very athletic. I would go after Nick Bolton in free agency if I was the Broncos. Going on from that, defensive line, they got to get more beef up there. They have to. I like Zach Allen. He's good. I like John Franklin Myers. And DJ Jones is a free agent. Who knows if they're going to bring him back? But they need more beef. They need somebody up there that's actually a true game wrecker. Like, whether if you can find him in free agency or the draft, you got to get that guy. We need someone up there that is going to make life difficult for offensive lines. Because the only one we really have up there now that does that can stop the run, make life difficult for offensive lines, is Zach Allen. Yeah. I mean, John Franklin Myers, but he's not really a, game changer. I mean, Zach Allen really isn't either, but you need that game changer on the defensive line. Like, if they could, I haven't really looked at the defensive line guys. I'm pretty sure there's a couple out there that are really, really good, that are somewhat game changers. They need to go get one of those guys. They got $52 million in cap space heading into free agency. I would go after, you don't need a high quality safety. Go out and get yourself a decent, somebody just a step up from PJ Locke. Mm-hmm. Just go out and grab that. Go sign Nick Bolton and go find one of these, really good guys on the defensive line and bring them in. Receiver, we kind of talked about. I'd be happy with T. Higgins or Chris Godwin. Honestly, like I'd rather keep our draft picks and not trade for because DK Metcalf's going to command a buttload of money because he's going to want a contract. It's going to be a lot of draft capital. Same with Garrett Wilson. I would like to have him here, but the compensation you're going to have to give up for him and the contract you're going to have to give up for him, I'd be fine with it. It just depends on what it would be. But the fact that Chris Godwin and T. Higgins, you don't have to give up draft capital for them. All you got to do is just pay them. I'd rather have Chris Godwin. And I agree with you. I think he would fit Sean Payton's system perfectly. Great route runner. He really works. Like, I think the Tampa Bay Bucks used him in the slot a lot last year. He can really work that middle of the field where Sean Payton likes to, throw the ball. So, but that's my keys to free agency: safety, inside linebacker, defensive line, wide receiver. And then going into the draft, I want to get your take on this, Mohammed. You kind of talked about it, you kind of touched on it, but what's the biggest keys? Running back, tight end, but what are some other keys you would like the Broncos for like depth purposes to look for in the draft?
That O line, Eddie, kind of scares me. I mean, I kind of like the unit we have right now, but God forbid something happens. That's kind of a scary feeling a little bit. I don't know when they could address that in the draft because of all the needs we have. But yeah, that's something that I kind of think about. Inside linebacker, if somebody's really good in the draft, I would hope they can address that as well.
Yeah, like we said, we talked about it. I think the first round pick needs to be a running back. Second round pick, tight end. And then, like, I agree with you. They need to, add some depth on the offensive line. I wouldn't be opposed to them adding more depth to the safety position either. But another position I'd really like them to add, maybe I wouldn't say game changer, but a rotational piece slash or depth piece would be edge.
Okay.
Um, I like Nick Benito. Jonathan Cooper just got paid. Nick Benito, he's probably going to get paid next year. You drafted Jonah Ellis last year. He's solid. And then you had DeAndre Tillman and Cunningham. Like Cunningham, he's not really a player you're going to develop. He's more of just a guy to have there as a depth piece. But you want a good rotational guy too at
Yeah.
edge. You want two good rotational guys. That way Nick Benito and Jonathan Cooper can come out and get some rest. And DeAndre Tillman, he was pretty solid this year, but he's a free agent. I don't know if the Broncos are going to bring him back this year. Maybe they do. Maybe they give him a nice little contract. I'm not saying like a buttload, but maybe like a 2-year, 3-year deal worth maybe like $10 million to where he's getting like $2.5 million a year or something. Maybe, or $3.5 million. I'm sorry, a year, or $3 million a year. That's possible, but I think they're going to look towards the draft and maybe add another rotational, depth piece at edge, and like you said, offensive line. That's what I'm excited for. Maybe add another inside linebacker. Maybe they add a piece on the defensive line through free agency. Um, and honestly, maybe quarterback too. Like, not saying you have to get him in the higher rounds, but maybe like in the 6th round, add like a young piece, like because we know Jared Stidham and Zach Wilson are both, free agents this year. I believe they're going to bring one back. I want Zach Wilson, but I don't know. But I believe they will bring at least one of the either Stidham or Zach Wilson. They will bring them back and put them on this roster as a backup. And Sean Payton, it seems like he really likes to keep 3 quarterbacks. So I wouldn't be surprised if like in the 6th round or something, he takes a quarterback like a reclamation project or something, just to have like as a practice squad guy / 3rd string quarterback. So that'd be my guess. But yeah, safety depth, outside linebacker depth, maybe inside defensive line, and like the top 2 for me are, safety. I'm sorry, outside and offensive line. Those are the top 2 depth pieces they need for this team. So, with that said, Mohammed, we're at almost 40 minutes. We got to run through these comments. Get your take. Tomorrow's games. I mean, everybody in Broncos country, I know who you guys are rooting for tomorrow in the AFC Championship game. I know who you're rooting for because I'm rooting for the same people. But what do you think about tomorrow's AFC Championship game tomorrow, Mohammed? Bills at the Chiefs. Just you don't really have to look too far into it, but just give your prediction of what you think the score is going to be.
I think the Bills are supposed to win, but they're not going to win for obvious reasons. I think there's gonna be some funny calls from. I'm sorry, Eddie. It's just we all know. I mean, everybody knows that's what's gonna happen. There's gonna be some weird penalties. There's gonna be called. If you even just breathe too hard on Patrick Mahomes, they're gonna throw a flag. 15 yards. All that dumb stuff. I mean, honestly, it's frustrating, Eddie. They are going to go to the Super Bowl somehow. If they don't, if the Bills manage to win, I'll be surprised.
Well, whenever the spread came out this past week, the Buffalo Bills are a 1.5 favorites in Kansas City.
Wow.
They're a
Really?
1.5 favorite.
Okay.
But I don't know if you saw during the week, somebody placed a $1.3 million bet. I can't remember. It was either I want to say it was on the Bills. They placed a $1.3 million bet that the Bills were going to win, or maybe it was the Chiefs. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I have to go back and look.
That's a
But
lot of.
I do agree, Mohammed, that there's going to be some calls. Like, I'm sorry. Like, they favor the Chiefs. They really do in these big games. And Taylor Swift, as long as Taylor Swift's there, they're in KC, the Chiefs are not going to lose. They will not lose. I am predicting the Chiefs victory tomorrow, 28-24 Kansas City. I mean, I'll be rooting like hell for Buffalo, but that's the way I see it playing out. Now, moving to the NFC Championship game, the Commanders at the Philadelphia Eagles. Mohammed, what is your prediction for this game tomorrow?
I don't know, Eddie. I think it's gonna be close, but I think the Commander is gonna win. I know that's not what you want to hear.
No,
I know
I got
why.
them winning too. No,
Really?
I got them winning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because from my understanding, I think the Philadelphia Eagles center is going to be out of this game. Their starting center. Jalen Hurts is still hurt. I mean, he's practicing, but he's hurt. So, I mean, it's not that I hate the Commanders. I just don't want to hear, oh, look at Jake Daniels, first rookie quarterback in
Yeah.
NFL history to make it to a Super Bowl, and especially if he wins the damn thing. I mean, it's just going to take all the light off of Bo Nix and all these other guys from this year, like Drake May, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, JJ, Michael Penix, because now they're going to have to live up to the standard of, okay, well, Jake in his first year went to the Super Bowl and won, or even if he makes the damn Super Bowl, it's going to be a big talking point. It's just something we're going to have to deal with. So, but personally, I got the Commanders winning tomorrow. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a close game. I'm going with the Commanders 24-21.
Okay.
So, but with all that said, guys, we got some comments in here I want to get to. Like, I don't want to leave these guys our great listeners to, be hanging here. So, Big E Bronco, Will Pete Carroll has already shown he can win with a quarterback that is very limited. Yeah, true. Towards the end of his tenure in Seattle, Russell Wilson, he was really starting to become limited. Pete Carroll still found ways to win. Geno Smith, he's like in his mid 30s, and Pete Carroll found a way to win with him. Like, I would not be surprised if we see Geno Smith go to the Raiders. I would not be surprised. But it's not that I don't think I'm not saying Pete Carroll's not going to change the culture and maybe win some games this year, because I think he will with the Raiders. I just don't think it's a good pick for the Raiders. He's 74. He's not going to – whenever you think of a rebuild, you think like a couple of years. A couple of years, get the pieces on the roster, get the quarterback, develop the quarterback. And once again, he's got to nail the OC hire if he's going to develop a young quarterback. This is why I think it's going to be a bubblegum type, couple of years for the Raiders, where they're going to be like, kind of like the Broncos were in 2018, 2019, go out and get like a veteran quarterback and, bubble gum this roster together, maybe squeeze out a couple of wins and maybe try to make the playoffs. What are your thoughts, the Big E Broncos comment here, Mohammed?
Yeah. You just got to give him like a game manager. Geno Smith would be perfect. He'll win some games with him, pretty close maybe to making the playoffs. 8, 9 games win. This is what's going to be like until they get a young QB in there. But yeah, I agree.
Big E Bronco back in here. Russell Wilson, dude's going to the Raiders. Didn't you see his interview where he took a shot at Sean Payton? And Betty propped up Pete Carroll. Oh, he propped up Pete Carroll and Mike Tomlin, the two teams he may actually have a shot. Yeah, I did see that. I did. And the only reason why he did that, like, honestly, him and Pete Carroll, they were together for so long. I think that's the reason why. But, if Russ was only with Pete Carroll for a year, like, when Pete Carroll was like, no, we're not like, but then, Pete Carroll didn't really, publicly criticize Russell Wilson. You know what I mean? And he did do Russell a solid, and that's the reason why they won Super Bowls. I think down deep, Russell knows that. He knows that wasn't because of him they won the Super Bowl. It was because of Pete Carroll and that defense in the run game.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he has more respect for Pete Carroll because he was with him for so long. But even towards the end of the tenure in Seattle for us, like, there's a reason why they traded him. We heard the rumors. We heard everything come out of the Seahawks, building that Russ ain't happy. Russ wants to cook, but Pete Carroll doesn't want to do that. He wants to play defense and run the ball. He wants to win games, and that was the way they always won, even with Russ whenever he was in his prime. Russ, whenever Russ needed to make a play, Pete's like, hey, Russ, go out there and make a play. But that wasn't their normal game plan. That wasn't their, identity. Their identity was playing defense and run the ball. That's how they won games. So, but honestly, I don't care. He talked bad about Sean Payton. Sean Payton was the only one that I think more coaches need to be like Sean Payton. When I understand this whole concept of, oh, you shouldn't call out, as a coach, you shouldn't do that. But when your player is acting like a damn diva, and shows no emotion, like maybe Sean Payton was doing that to try to get a rise out of Russ. Like even whenever he was in Bronco or with the Broncos, like what was the one thing you heard from everybody? It's like, dude, show something. Act like you care. Show some kind of emotion. You're like a damn robot out there. You want your quarterback to have that emotion. You want them to be mad whenever like Tom Brady, when something bad happened or the play, even if they scored on a play, but it just didn't go the way it was supposed to. What'd you see Tom Brady or even Peyton Manning do? You see him go over there and yell at his guys and try to get them riled up. Be like, listen, this is what you need to do. Do it fucking right. Russ didn't do that at all. And that infuriated, I think, Seahawks fans. It infuriated Steelers fans because I watch them all the time. They say the same shit. And it infuriated Broncos fans when he was here. Like, good riddance. Like, I don't care. Even if he goes to the Raiders with Pete Carroll, the Raiders are still going to suck.
Yeah.
Like, I think they'll win an extra couple of games. But in my personal opinion, Mohammed, I do somewhat like the hire of Pete Carroll because I think he will come in and change the culture. But honestly, from the Raiders standpoint, I think they're stupid. Because if I was the Raiders owner, I would just kept Antonio Pierce another year. Just, maybe try to put some pieces on this roster and maybe suck so bad, for next year's draft to where maybe you could draft an actual quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, you got to figure that position out and then hire a coach that'll draft that young guy and develop him. Like I told you, me personally, I don't like defensive-minded head coaches. I think they're outdated. But what are your thoughts to Big E's comment here, Mohammed?
Yeah, I did see the interview. I thought that was a little funny. I don't know why he decided to say that now, but yeah, I mean, if he goes to how many games are they going to win? Even if he goes there, okay, they got Brock Powers and stuff. How many games are they going to win?
How many did they
8
win
games?
this year?
I don't know, like 3 or 4. I don't think it was
3 or
that
4,
much.
maybe 5.
Something like that.
I would expect them with Pete Carroll. I think he's worth an additional win or two. So maybe
Yeah.
6 or 7 wins.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't really matter. They need to get a young, they need to rebuild. Same thing, just like the Jets, unless you sell the farm, give up like 3 first-round picks to move all the way up, get Shador. And why would the teams that need a quarterback do that? That's just crazy.
Yeah, I don't get it either. Biggie Brock will come back in playing for next year. I'm assuming he's talking about the Raiders. Let me know, Biggie. I'm not sure what you mean by that. But if that's what they're doing, that's fine. But Pete Carroll, he's going to give you enough wins to where you're not going to be able to get one of those top flight quarterbacks. You're going to be picking middle of the draft. You're going to be mediocre. You're going to be the Steelers. But maybe not with a good as a record to where you'll sneak into the playoffs because you got like a 10-7 record. No, you're going to be like 8-9, 7-10, where you're going to be picking like 12, 13, 14, and not really be able to, even get your quarterback. Like, to me, that's just insane. To me, it's either you go out, you win as many games as you can to make the playoffs, or you just suck so bad that you get a high draft pick and get your quarterback in the future. That's like being middle of the pack, mediocre, like right in the middle, dude. That's the worst spot to be in for any team.
I know.
Any team. Because you ain't got a high enough draft pick to get a quarterback, and you're not good enough to make the playoffs. Like, you're just stuck. That's
Yeah.
why Steeler fans are pissed. Like, yeah, they made the playoffs, but they got humiliated in the first round. Steeler fans are sick of it. They're like, we don't care about the damn winning season. Like, if you have a winning season and you barely just scrape into, like they did this year, just backed into the playoffs, and then you get bounced in the first round, like everybody said it. They're like, yeah, they're gonna get bounced in the first round. Baltimore's gonna kill them.
Yeah.
And Steeler fans were even saying that and knew that. Steeler fans were like, I'd rather just suck and get a new head coach and get a quarterback. So that to me, yeah, like, I agree with that. But we got another one here from Biggie Bronco. Why does all these Kansas City Chiefs assistant coaches never get a job as a head coach when they do, they flop? Because it's Andy Reid.
Mm-hmm.
It's Andy Reid, and I hate to say it, it's Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And honestly, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. And I'm not going to sit here and say Patrick Mahomes is going to be terrible, but when Andy Reid retires, the Chiefs are going to take a major step back. Even with Patrick Mahomes there, they're going to take a step back. Mahomes is going to be 30 this coming up year. And honestly, if the Chiefs wind up three-peating, I could totally see Andy Reid and Travis Kelce both retiring. Even if they don't win the Super Bowl, I could maybe possibly still see one of those guys retire, whether it's Kelce or Reid. And honestly, to me, that whole team, it's its identity, its culture, its play calling, all that's Andy Reid. Once he leaves, that team is going to take a major step back, even with Mahomes there. It will. What are your thoughts to Biggie's question here?
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good point. For whatever reason, they never get jobs like that. You would think they would, right? But you're right, Eddie. It's because it's all the coach and the quarterback, that combination. It has nothing to do with the other coaches. So, but I think even if he doesn't retire, Eddie, I think the Chiefs are going to take a step back next season. You got the Broncos coming up, you got the Chargers. It's not going to be as sweet as it was in the past for them. They know it too.
Oh, no, it's not. That's why I think they're trying so desperately. Well, I shouldn't say try. I'm not going to go into that, but they're really wanting a three-peat because I know after this year, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying they can't make the playoffs after this year, but it's not going to be a cakewalk for them by any stretch. But next comment here, another one from Biggie Bronco. He's like, I would give it a C- because Josh McDaniels will want to trade away the rookie quarterback and all their offensive.
That's a good one, Big
Yeah, he might want to try to Drake May, get rid of him, dude. The guy's a bum. Let's go get like a third and a fourth for him. Mike Vrabel's gonna be sitting there like,
Jay
what is
Cutler.
wrong with you? But no, I said it before and I'll say it again. Josh McDaniels he's a good OC. Like, if you just let him worry about the offense and not the whole team as a whole, and have to worry about drafting players and signing free agents, like Mike Vrabel will be the one, and the GM will be the ones taking control of that. But if you just let Josh McDaniels worry about the offense, like, it's gonna be fun to watch Drake May next year. I believe. I really do. I think Josh McDaniels and him are going to work well together, and I think that's it's going to suck for the Broncos in a sense because it's going to be another really good team in the AFC that's going to be really good. I think Vrabel, he'll have control. The culture in New England will be great for the entire team, and he'll make that defense great because, like I said, he took the Titans with Ryan Tannehill to the playoffs and had the 1 seed competing with the Chiefs. So, like, the Patriots are going to be a scary team here in the next couple years. They're going to be competing for the playoffs too, and that's probably going to be one of the teams alongside the Ravens, the Bills, the Bengals, the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Dolphins, all these teams like the Colts, or I'm sorry, not the Colts, the Texans, the Jags. Like, these are teams that the Broncos are going to have to compete with to get into the playoffs. So it's going to be rough. What are your thoughts to Big E's question here, Mohammed?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty funny. It kind of took me back when he was our coach. But yeah, I think he's a good OC. Just as long as he stays away from the coaching thing, he's fine. I think he'll be fine. I agree with you. I think the Patriots gonna be good.
Another one here from Big E Bronco. Uh, when didn't the Jets set somebody up for failure? Yeah, like Woody Johnson, he's a bad owner. That's just the way it is. He reminds me of Jerry Jones and David Tepper. He's impulsive, like especially this year. Like he didn't let the football people make the football decisions. He was literally like playing Madden. He was the one making all the football decisions. That's why Salah got fired. That's and I think Aaron Rodgers did have a hand in that. A lot of people say, "Oh, it wasn't him." I don't believe that. I believe Aaron Rodgers had a hand in Salah getting fired. Of course, he had a hand in Devontae coming there, Hackett coming there. Um, who was the other one? The other receiver that they got from Green Bay, Randall Cobb. Alan Lazard. Like, no, that was because Aaron wanted those guys there. And Woody Johnson is like doing anything he can to make Rodgers happy. He gave Aaron Rodgers the keys last year and it blew up in his face. But now, honestly, I don't even know, man. Like, I think Woody Johnson's just a bad owner. Like, whoever comes in there is going to fail, in my opinion. What say you, Mohammed?
Yeah, I already know the Jets gonna suck if they keep Aaron Rodgers. They are not gonna be good. I mean, of course, the coach is gonna get blamed for everything as usual.
Of course. We know that. Last one here from Big E Bronco. He's like, Kansas City is going to win. The referee crew that's refereeing the Kansas City game has never lost. Whether to ref crew the fix is in. I'm assuming you mean with the ref crew that's coming out or ref in the Kansas City game. The Chiefs have never lost with this ref crew, and I've actually been seeing that a lot. Um, the officiating crew for this game, I think Mahomes is like, I can't remember. It's some kind of crazy number that Mahomes, wins to, losses ratio. But I mean, even if that wasn't the case, they're not going to lose, guys.
Have you
They're
seen
not
this?
going to let Patrick
I don't know if
Mahomes.
it's clear. Nah, it's not that
Oh yeah,
clear.
yeah. They're not going to let Patrick Mahomes. They're not going to let Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs with Taylor Swift in attendance lose at home in the AFC Championship game. It's just
Nope.
not going to happen. Like Josh Allen, and not just Josh Allen, this entire Bills defense is going to have to be absolutely to the point perfect. No penalties, nothing for them to even have a shot in this game and to win. And in football, we know that's not the case. You're never gonna have a perfect, flawless game. Any team. I don't care if it's the fucking Chiefs. I don't care if it's the Bills, the Patriots of 20 years ago. You're not gonna have that perfect pinpoint accurate game with no penalties. So it's just not gonna happen. The Chiefs are gonna win tomorrow, and they're gonna be going to their, what is it? Like third consecutive Super Bowl. So I'm not even going to watch the game tomorrow. I'll watch the Commander and Eagles game because that game should be good. I'm
Yeah.
not watching the Buffalo Chiefs game. I might keep track of it on my phone, but I'm not going to bother wasting my time watching the actual game. I'm not giving them my view. And I can tell you right now, Mohammed, I mean, I don't know if you would agree with this, but if the Chiefs do make the Super Bowl, which I'm expecting them to do, this will be the first year since I was a child I'm not going to watch a Super Bowl.
Oh damn, man. I don't know.
So
Yeah.
I'm not
I
watching
mean,
it. I'm not giving
we
them
we
my
know what
view.
we know what the result's gonna be. That's one thing. You know.
Yeah. It's like, why bother watching it whenever I know it's going to happen? And it's funny to me because, like, anytime whenever I watch that Houston Chiefs game out or any Chiefs game, I'm like, oh, that team made a play. Where's the flag? Or I see the other team make a play against the Chiefs. I'm like, where's the flag?
Go fly.
Like, I'm like, that team made a stop. Or I'll even say it before the play. I'm like, watch, this team is going to get a stop on the Chiefs, or they're going to convert this third and whatever, the second whatever, and there's going to be a flag right after it. Watch. Every single time without fail, I'm freaking right. The team makes a stop on the Chiefs, flag. The team converts against the Chiefs, flag. I'm like, why bother watching whenever I can literally tell you what's going to happen? So, but we got one more comment here, Muhammad, and then I got to get out of here for the night, guys. Biggie Bronco again. He's like, I think everybody needs to boycott the game tomorrow and not watch. Maybe the NFL may step in. They won't. I don't think they will, because it's not just about viewership. It's also about sales, like ticket sales, merchandise sales. Because there's some fan bases out there that they're just like, whatever, I don't care. It's the Chiefs. Like, why the hell do I care? If they win, they win. Cool. But there's a lot of fan bases, not just Broncos, Chargers, or Raiders, that are PO'd about this. There's like other fan bases, like even teams that are not even in the AFC. I've seen Cowboy fans, I've seen Buck fans, I've seen Packer fans, I've seen all kinds of different fans say like, we're sick of watching the Chiefs. They're getting handed these games, but there's still gonna be the casual fan out there that's gonna watch the game, give them their viewership, buy them the stuff, and as long as Taylor Swift's there, that's going to get them more viewership because all these Taylor Swifties are going to be watching the game to see her and Taylor's boyfriend, and they're going to buy the merch. They're going to buy the tickets to go to the game to see if they can get a glimpse of Taylor Swift. So I don't think a boycott would work. I mean, I would like it. I think it'd be funny because it would finally show the NFL like, hey, stop doing this stupid crap. But they're not going to. It's just more along the lines for us to be like, hey, we're sticking it to the NFL, but in retrospect, it's not really going to work. As long as Taylor Swift and the Chiefs keep bringing in revenue, they don't really freaking care. So, but that's gonna be it for us tonight, guys. If you guys would please like, comment, subscribe on this video. Like I said, also hit the bell notification so you guys know when we go live. And Mohammed, man, we got a fun off season coming up for us, man. I can't wait until free agency. We got 2 months until free agency. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
So, but that's it for us tonight, guys. And we'll be back next week. Me and Muhammad are gonna, go through some ideas and see what we're gonna do a show about next week. Now that the off season's here, there's not like right now. There's not really a whole lot of news to report. The season's over. Free agency a couple months away, draft about 3 months away. So, but we'll come together and get some ideas together, and we'll bring you guys some shows every week that we can. So, like again, like, comment, subscribe on this video. We will talk to you guys later. Peace.